Do you remember when Las Vegas felt like a gift instead of a bill? When every neon light wasn't just selling you something, but inviting you into a world where magic was free. Today, the Strip still shines, but behind the glitter, something feels missing. The Vegas that once welcomed every dreamer, rich or broke, has been quietly dismantled, piece by piece. This isn't about money, it's about soul. So join me as we count down 9 things we'll never see again in Las Vegas. And trust me, number 1 will hit you right in the heart. Number 9. Free parking everywhere. Imagine driving across the desert at night, your car headlights catching the first shimmer of neon on the horizon. You arrive at a billion-dollar casino, pull into a garage the size of a small city, and park for free. That was Las Vegas's opening handshake, a bold, effortless way of saying, "You're welcome here. Stay as long as you like." For decades, free parking wasn't a perk, it was philosophy. Casinos knew the real profits weren't in the garage, they were on the gaming floor. If you walked in relaxed, not worried about nickel and dime charges, you'd gamble longer, spend more freely, and leave with a smile even if you lost. Free parking wasn't generosity, it was strategy. Then came the shift. Around 2016, the Strip's corporate giants rolled out paid parking like a new tax on fun. $10, $20, even $30 just to leave your car sitting still. Locals who once treated the Strip like their backyard stopped coming as often. Tourists, already bruised by resort fees and overpriced cocktails, felt insulted before they even touched a slot machine. The very first impression of Vegas, once welcoming and grand, became transactional and cold. And the fallout runs deeper than wallets. Free parking gave everyone a taste of power. Where else in the world could you roll up to a palace of lights, park your car for nothing, and feel like you owned the place? It was a rare, intoxicating illusion of equality. Strip that away, and suddenly the magic feels smaller. The welcome mat rolled up. Sure, casinos make millions now from those garages, but they've traded something priceless: goodwill. Because if free parking was the hello of old Vegas, what came next was its sparkling, unforgettable face. And when you picture it, you'll see feathers, sequins, and the city's most dazzling symbol of identity. Number 8. The rise and fall of the showgirl. Think of Las Vegas in its golden age. What's the image that pops into your head? Not a corporate logo, not a DJ booth. It's a woman 10 feet tall in heels, draped in feathers and sequins, shimmering beneath spotlights. The Las Vegas showgirl wasn't just entertainment. She was the city's soul, its most dazzling ambassador. From the 1950s through the 1980s, shows like Folie Bergère at the Tropicana or Jubilee at Bally's weren't side attractions. They were the beating heart of the Strip. These weren't just song and dance routines. They were grand spectacles with live orchestras, elaborate stage sets, and choreography rivaling anything on Broadway. Tourists didn't just buy tickets. They bought into a fantasy. The showgirl represented everything Vegas promised: glamour without apology, spectacle without restraint, and the idea that here you'd see something you could never see anywhere else. But the feathers began to fade. By the 1990s, corporate accountants started asking hard questions. Lavish productions cost too much, and spreadsheets showed DJs and nightclubs could bring in higher profits with lower expenses. At the same time, audiences shifted. Younger crowds wanted EDM drops, not cabaret overtures. Slowly, the showgirl was pushed aside. By 2016, when Jubilee closed its curtains after a 35-year run, an era officially ended. What's left today? A handful of costumed women on the Strip posing for tourist photos, caricatures of what once was. The real showgirl, the living emblem of Las Vegas glamour, is gone. And with her disappearance, the city lost more than a show. It lost its identity. Paris has the Eiffel Tower. New York has Broadway. Vegas had the showgirl. She was its trademark, its cultural export, its glittering face to the world. Without her, the Strip feels more generic, more corporate, less unique. Sure, the LED screens are brighter, the club's louder, but none of it matches the electric thrill of seeing a showgirl sweep across a stage, reminding you that Vegas was a place where rules didn't apply, and dreams wore rhinestones. And if losing the showgirl feels like watching an icon vanish, the next loss cuts even deeper. Because it wasn't just about who you saw on stage, but who you could see up close. Without a ticket, just steps away from your slot machine. Number 7. The era of lounge acts, seeing legends for free. Picture this. It's 1972, and you've just finished a $1.99 prime rib buffet. You wander into a smoky casino lounge, grab a $2 cocktail, and then, without a ticket, without a cover charge, you're suddenly 5 feet away from Tom Jones belting out a ballad, or Sammy Davis Jr. cracking jokes with the band. Maybe Elvis even drops in after his main show, just to sing a few numbers. That was the magic of the Vegas Lounge Act, world-class stars performing practically in your lap, and it didn't cost you a dime. For casinos, lounge acts weren't charity, they were strategy. Give people unforgettable experiences, and they'd stay longer, gamble more, and tell friends back home they'd lived like royalty in Las Vegas. The economics worked because the house always won, but the guest always felt like they did too. The lounge was the secret weapon: intimacy, spontaneity, and a sense that you were part of something legendary. The atmosphere itself was part of the show. Red velvet booths, martinis balanced on trays, cigarette smoke curling in the spotlight. Every night carried the thrill of the unexpected. One evening it might be Wayne Newton, the next a surprise appearance by Frank Sinatra himself. Visitors left with stories so incredible they sounded like tall tales, but in Vegas they were real. So why did it disappear? Corporate efficiency. By the early 2000s, every square foot of casino floor had to earn. Lounges without cover charges or bottle service were rebranded, remodeled, or ripped out. Free entertainment was replaced by $200 nightclub tickets and multi-million-dollar residencies. What had once been accessible to anyone, a school teacher from Kansas or a tourist on a shoestring budget, became an exclusive perk for those who could pay.
And with the death of the Lounge Act, Vegas lost something more than music. It lost spontaneity, the thrill that you might stumble upon a superstar without expecting it. Today, everything on the Strip is scripted, scheduled, and scanned with a wristband. The city still entertains, but it entertains for a price, and the magic feels less generous, less democratic. If the showgirl was Vegas's face, the Lounge Act was its beating heart. Together, they made the city feel alive. And what came after them reveals a sharper truth. Because when Vegas cleaned up its act, it also erased a certain personal touch that, for better or worse, the old mob bosses understood better than the corporations ever will.
Number 6. The mafia's personal touch versus corporate greed. Say the word mafia, and people think of danger, smoke-filled back rooms, and skimming cash off the top. And yes, the mob ran Las Vegas in ways that weren't exactly legal. But ask an old-timer who visited the Strip in the 1960s or 70s, and you'll hear something surprising. Under the mob, Vegas felt more personal. Why? Because loyalty was everything. If you sat at the tables, whether you bet $20 or $20,000, you were treated like a guest of honor. A pit boss might slip you a free buffet, comp you a room, or send over steak and champagne, no questions asked. It wasn't about spreadsheets, it was about keeping you happy enough to come back again and again. To the mob, hospitality wasn't a perk, it was survival. Contrast that with today's corporate Strip. Every drink, every perk, every so-called freebie is calculated by an algorithm. You're no longer a guest, you're a data point. Want water? $8. Want to park your car? $25. Resort fees? Another $45 a night. Instead of a pit boss remembering your name, you get loyalty points printed on a receipt. The warmth of a handshake has been replaced by cold efficiency. Of course, Mob Vegas wasn't glamorous for everyone.
Workers lived under intimidation, unions were strong-armed, and violence was always a shadow in the room. The corporate takeover cleaned up the crime, but in the process, it also scrubbed away the soul. The personal touch vanished, replaced by policies, procedures, and a city run by accountants. Think about it this way. Back then, you could be a school teacher from Kansas and walk away telling your friends, "They gave me a free steak dinner." Today, you can drop $1,000 at the blackjack table and still pay $18 for a gin and tonic. The mob made you feel like a high roller, no matter your bankroll. The corporations make you feel like a number, no matter how much you spend. And that shift, from loyalty to extraction, marks one of the biggest cultural losses Vegas has ever faced. Because while the mob's generosity was often self-serving, it created a mythology of inclusion that corporations have failed to replicate. But if mob-era comps made everyone feel like a king, the next loss on our list was a different kind of royalty. A culinary crown jewel so cheap, so iconic, that it became one of the most beloved bargains in Vegas history. Number 5. The 99-cent shrimp cocktail. What could possibly make tourists line up down the block, grinning like kids at a candy store? Not a slot jackpot, not a show ticket, but a chilled glass of shrimp cocktail for less than $1. For decades, the 99-cent shrimp cocktail was as much a Las Vegas landmark as the neon lights of Fremont Street. The Golden Gate Casino, starting in 1959, turned it into legend. A plastic cup packed with shrimp, cocktail sauce spilling over the rim, a lemon wedge on the side. It wasn't glamorous, but it didn't need to be. At 99 cents, it was a ritual. College kids, retirees, high rollers, even celebrities, all stood shoulder to shoulder in the same line. For one glorious bite, everyone was equal. Why did it matter so much? Because shrimp wasn't ordinary. Back home, shrimp was for weddings or fancy dinners. In Vegas, it became an everyday indulgence. The city was sending a message. Here, you can live large, no matter what's in your wallet. That single cup of shrimp embodied the Vegas promise. Luxury made accessible. But like so many Vegas legends, economics killed it. Rising food costs, inflation, and the city's shift toward luxury dining pushed the shrimp cocktail into extinction. The famous 99-cent deal crept up to $1.99, then $2.99, then $7.99. Eventually, the magic was gone. Today, you can still order shrimp cocktails on the Strip, but they'll cost you $20 or $30, and they come with the fine print of upscale appetizers, not democratic delight. The loss wasn't just about food. It was about identity. The shrimp cocktail equalized tourists and locals, rich and poor. Everyone got the same bargain, the same bragging rights. Now, instead of bonding over a shared ritual, visitors compare receipts for overpriced meals. That sense of "we're all in this together" has vanished. Sure, you can still splurge on $300 Wagyu steak dinners, but you'll never again feel the joy of slurping down shrimp for pocket change, knowing you beat the system in the city built on odds. And if shrimp once symbolized affordable indulgence, the next thing on our list was even bigger. It was the idea that ordinary people could be treated like kings, if only for a night. Number 4. Comps for the common man. There was a time when the word comps didn't just mean luxury suites and champagne towers reserved for whales. In old Las Vegas, comps belonged to everyone. Picture it. You're sitting at a nickel slot machine, maybe only betting a few bucks. A cocktail waitress appears with a free drink. The pit boss strolls by, shakes your hand, and quietly hands you a voucher for the buffet. Sometimes, you even scored a discounted room just for hanging around long enough. You didn't need to be a millionaire. You just needed to show up. This was the philosophy that built Las Vegas. Treat every visitor like a VIP. The mob understood it. Early corporate casinos understood it. The message was simple.
Keep people happy, and they'll always come back. For a school teacher from Kansas or a factory worker from Ohio, comps weren't about saving money. They were about feeling special. A free steak dinner wasn't just dinner. It was proof that Vegas valued you. Fast forward to today, and comps have been hijacked by algorithms. Everything is tied to loyalty cards and average daily theoretical loss. If you don't gamble enough, the system says you're worth nothing. Even drinks at the slots are no longer guaranteed. Some casinos now use meters that track your play before a server will come by. The warm handshake of a pit boss has been replaced by an app notification. The impact is bigger than a free buffet. When the comps vanished for the everyday player, so did the stories. Those tales you told back home. They gave me free dinner just for playing a little. Were priceless marketing for Las Vegas. Today, the only people with stories worth bragging about are the whales in penthouse suites. The mythology that made Vegas a place for everyone has thinned into exclusivity. Luxury still exists, but it's luxury for sale. The egalitarian spirit, where a teacher, a truck driver, and a tycoon could all feel like kings for a night, is gone. And without that spirit, Vegas feels less like the people's playground and more like an upscale mall with slot machines. But if comps once made you feel unique, the very buildings themselves once felt unique too. Because the next thing Vegas lost was impossible to ignore. Entire casinos that once transported you to another world before everything became a copy of the same luxury hotel. Number 3. The unique, themed casinos. Before everything became a generic luxury hotel, close your eyes and remember what it was like to step into Las Vegas in the 1980s or 1990s. You didn't just enter casinos. You entered entire worlds. Caesar's palace swept you into ancient Rome, complete with marble columns and toga-clad servers. The Luxor pyramid glowed like a beacon from another age, shooting the world's brightest beam of light into the sky. Treasure Island exploded with pirate battles on the Strip, while the Mirage erupted every night with its fiery volcano. Every property had a personality, a theme, a story to tell. Back then, Vegas wasn't just about gambling. It was about fantasy. Families came because kids could marvel at medieval knights jousting at Excalibur, or wander through a faux New York skyline without ever leaving Nevada. Tourists came because each casino offered an escape from reality, an immersion into a different time or place. You didn't just stay in a hotel. You stayed in Paris, Venice, or a castle. That theming was the hook, and it worked. So what happened? Corporate standardization. By the mid-2000s, Wall Street executives decided that theming was too expensive and too kitschy for their desired luxury brand. One by one, casinos stripped away their identities. Treasure Island rebranded into TI, burying the pirate battles in favor of sterile, high-end dining. The Luxor dimmed its mystical vibe and filled its pyramid with convention halls. The Mirage, once defined by its volcano and Siegfried and Roy's white tigers, is now being gutted to make way for a hard rock guitar-shaped tower. Today, walk the Strip and notice how so many resorts look interchangeable. Sleek glass towers, upscale restaurants, designer shops. Beautiful, yes, but generic. You could be in Miami, Dubai, or Singapore. The uniqueness that once defined Vegas has been smoothed over into a glossy sameness. And the consequence? Las Vegas lost its ability to surprise. The theming made every trip feel new. You never knew what wild fantasy you'd walk into next. Now, the Strip feels less like a playground of imagination and more like a branded shopping district with slot machines attached. When the themed casinos faded, Vegas lost its magic trick, its power to transport you.
And if losing fantasy feels disappointing, the next loss is even crueler, because it wasn't about spectacle at all. It was about value, and a deal so good it made you feel like a winner before you ever placed a single bet. Number 2. Value Vegas, the promise of affordable indulgence. For decades, Las Vegas wasn't just about flashing lights and roulette wheels. It was about value. The city sold itself on a simple, intoxicating promise. You don't need to be rich to feel rich here. Buffets for pocket change, show tickets that cost less than a dinner back home, rooms so cheap you could spend the night in a palace for what you'd pay at a roadside motel elsewhere. That was the genius of old Vegas. It understood psychology. When tourists felt they were getting a deal, they relaxed. They spent more freely at the tables, more happily on the slots. The whole machine worked because everyone, from the broke college kid to the retired couple, believed they were beating the system. Vegas wasn't trying to squeeze you dry. It was letting you live the high life, even if just for a weekend. But then, slowly, that deal unraveled. Resort fees crept in, quietly adding $30, then $40, now even $50 a night to your bill. Buffets went from $5 all-you-can-eat feasts to $70 gourmet experiences. Cheap shrimp cocktails, prime rib specials, and comped drinks gave way to $18 gin and tonics, $12 coffees, and mandatory surcharges on your dinner check. Hotel rooms that once lured budget travelers now price out entire families. And here's the cruel irony. By chasing luxury margins, Vegas has alienated the very people who made it thrive. Locals who once popped down to the Strip for a buffet or a night out no longer bother. Middle-class tourists, the ones who filled rooms, gambled casually, and came back year after year, now complain that the city feels like a scam. The Value Vegas brand that made the city iconic has been replaced by an aura of extraction. The consequences ripple everywhere. Visitor numbers fluctuate. Canadians who once crossed the border for bachelor parties now stay home, citing $50 parking and $20 beers. Americans who once drove in for a weekend now think twice, asking if their money stretches further in Reno, Laughlin, or even overseas. Vegas still glitters, but the promise of affordable indulgence, the promise that you too could live like a king for a night, is gone. And that brings us to the final, most painful loss of all. Because when you take away the deals, the comps, the showgirls, and the fantasy, you strip Las Vegas of something far deeper than money. You strip it of its very soul. Number 1. The soul of Las Vegas itself. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. The biggest thing we've lost isn't the $1.99 buffet, the shrimp cocktail, or even the showgirl. It's the soul of Las Vegas itself. Vegas was never really about gambling. If you wanted a casino, you could find one in Atlantic City, in Reno, even on a cruise ship. What made Las Vegas different, what made it legendary, was the feeling. It was stepping into a world where you mattered, no matter who you were. A place where the teacher from Ohio, the factory worker from Michigan, and the billionaire from Wall Street all walked the same neon streets and felt like kings. That spirit has been hollowed out. Today, the Strip feels less like a playground of possibility and more like an airport mall with slot machines. Corporate boards measure loyalty in spreadsheets, not smiles. Hospitality has been replaced by fees. Imagination has been replaced by efficiency. The soul that once made Vegas magical, the inclusivity, the generosity, the sense that this city was built for everyone, has been traded for quarterly earnings. Sure, the lights still dazzle. The fountains still dance. The billboards still shout. But beneath the glitter, the heartbeat is quieter. Ask anyone who remembers the old days. They'll tell you that Vegas doesn't feel the same. It's still a city of spectacle,
But the magic, the soul, the promise that this was your place, no matter your wallet size, that's gone. And maybe that's why nostalgia hits so hard. Because deep down, we all know the jackpots, the buffets, the comps, they were never the real prize. The real prize was the feeling Las Vegas gave us, that we belonged. So there it is, the soul of Las Vegas, remembered through the 9 things we'll never see again. I still love this city, but I miss the one that made everyone feel like a high roller. What about you? Drop your Vegas memories below, and don't forget to subscribe.